Hello, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Hope you enjoy this video. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Game Wisdom Live. We are broadcasting for the week of January 19th, 2017. So, this is going to be probably a shorter Game Wisdom Live. James is working with a new computer. I think he's having some trouble getting on. So once again, it is just me for this evening. And when it is just me, it really is hard to jump across multiple topics like this. But the good news is we do have a major topic I want to talk about, and that is plans for redoing the Patreon campaign for Game Wisdom and everything here. Before we get to that, I also want to talk a little briefly about some interesting news I heard today. They released the Long War 2 mod for XCOM 2. Long War being the almost complete conversion for XCOM that just radically changed the game. And Long War Studios, so I think they go by a new name now, they actually just released the second one. And in an unrelated story, I think I need a cloning machine in order to use that and play it, because I really haven't spent as much time on XCOM 2 that I wanted. Maybe this will be the perfect time to get back into it, but we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see what the overall impressions will be. I'm also keeping an eye out on my chat to see if James does magically show up or not. But let's get to the big topic, and that is talking about the Patreon. As I was hinting at earlier this week, I've been thinking about ways of spicing things up and changing things around. And what I've come up with is basically a complete redesign of the goals and rewards for the Patreon. As you know, we've been running this Patreon for I think a little over 2-3 years now, and while it's earned a little bit of money, it hasn't done anywhere near what I needed, and I think I've come up with the reasons why. The first one is the fact that I think I started way too early. This was pre-Twitch, pre-YouTube, so chances are for all of you seeing it, you probably weren't around for the original announcement of the Patreon. The second point I think that really hurt is the fact that I went with basically the one big goal to start and then pushing things out that way. And I think what I'm going to do will make it a lot easier to get people invested. So for those of you watching this live, I'm going to be making the changes to the Patreon later tonight, probably early in the morning kind of deal. If you're watching this recorded on Friday, the changes should be already up. The first big thing is going to be I'm going to be switching the goals around, and we're going to be starting at $100 increments for each goal. And these smaller goals will basically unlock new content for the channel. Last week I mentioned the idea of doing more classic PS3 or older PS4 titles using the PS Now service. So the first goal will essentially be that, to expand the coverage. And if we hit it, I'm going to throw in a Let's Play of Ninja Gaiden Sigma. I've started to think about the $200 goal already, but I'm still going to put that together before we announce it. And I think this way we'll go with smaller goals that will be a lot easier to cover, and more importantly, it will add new content for everyone to enjoy in the process. And if you have any suggestions for future goals, please let me know in the comments. The other major point is I'm going to be altering and changing some of the rewards around on the Patreon itself. I still want to have like bigger goals, such as the patrons podcast. That was not easy to get out, where we'll do a podcast with a guest with the topics whatever they're interested in. But I also want to have smaller goals, such as maybe getting a video shout at the end of the month, and maybe even having goals to allow people to vote. Like we'll have a vote once a month on a Let's Play series for the channel, and anyone who contributed like a few bucks or something like that will be able to essentially place their vote in. I'm thinking that will maybe be like a $3 or $5 pledge. I'm still trying to think of the exact pricing, because that's always been one of my weaknesses, I think. Now, one thing that I want to ask you folks about, whether this is live or recorded, is the idea of having patron exclusive broadcasts. Having, like, let's say anyone who donates X amount of dollars will be able to join for a special stream or a special discussion like a few times a month or once a month or something like that. The reason why I'm still not sure about that is I know the kind of like Pandora's box that can open with having content behind a paid wall. And that's why if I'm going to do something like that, it won't be for at least like a higher up goal. Oh, it looks like James will actually be able to make it tonight, so maybe he'll be able to come on before I'm finished with my Patreon talk. But with the idea behind that, I'm trying to think of more ways to leverage the content and to provide you guys with something that makes it worth donating or pledging to. With the $100 goal, like I said, for each $100, we'll basically add in a new goal. Now, what I need in terms of money still hasn't changed, but as we get closer to what I originally had, which I think was like $550, $560, I'll start trying to make more enhanced goals. I know one thing that's been suggested a lot is having more or longer videos with fancier editing. And I don't want to promise that as a goal just yet. I'm going to try and sit down and do more with Adobe's what was it, Premiere, the one that does video editing, and see what I can do with that, because I don't want to promise anything and then I can't do it or I can't figure it out. But with each one of the goals, it will be about adding more content for everyone to enjoy. One of the ideas I was thinking about is a vote for essentially me going through my backlog of games that I just couldn't get into and maybe making like a special video about it. So this will be a way of showing off Hatful Boyfriend, Spin Tires, Analog, A Hate Story, games that aren't really my kind of thing. And this will be a way for you guys to sort of see what it's like when I'm not playing something that I'm an expert at. Yeah, I know I've seen a few people do that, El Gordo, about having exclusive content. And like I said, for you folks watching, either recorded or live, please let me know what you think of the idea. And if you have an idea of, like, what would be a fair price for something like that. Huh, that could be useful too, time exclusives. But like I said, we'll be kicking this off with the $100 goal, and then we'll keep going. Let me see. Oh, just got a message from James. This is always the pleasure of doing things live. Let's see. You can't see what James is saying. He's talking to me on Skype right now. I also have him up on Facebook chat. So I'm basically chatting 4 different ways if we count Twitch and the webcam right there. 1 second. While I'm waiting for him to respond. And one of the things that this will do is, as we get more of the Patreon money, hopefully, this will afford me the option of starting to upgrade things on this end. At some point, I need to break down and spend the big bucks on upgrading this computer, because it is going on, geez, I think like 8 years old right now in terms of parts, other than the video card, which is about 2 years old. And one of the things that I really do need is just a big old update, you know, new mouse, new webcam, and especially upgrading the computer, specifically in terms of the hard drive and the processor, to make it easier to do some of these streams of games, especially the AAA variety. Because when I was trying to do the Shadow Warrior 2 play, my computer just couldn't handle broadcasting and playing at the same time. But that would definitely be more of the further along the lines goals. But again, we'll start with $100 increments. If things go fast, we'll keep it at 100. If it starts to slow down, I may try like a interim goal, like a $50 goal, and see how people respond to that. In terms of the rewards, I'm going to keep most of the rewards, I think, in terms of like content, such as the digital CD of the podcast, the thank you on the site. But I will be adding stuff like maybe like a video shout out. The Patreons podcast right now, I think that's probably our most expensive goal or most expensive reward on there. And I think I would like to keep it at that level just because of how time consuming it can be. But one thing that I do want to have a return, and this was one of our most popular features, is the Developers Roundtable Cast. For those of you new to Game Wisdom, and especially the YouTube channel Twitch, one of the things I experimented with in 2013 and I think early 2014 was the idea of having multiple developers on for a roundtable. We would all pick topics beforehand, and we would spend about 15 to 20 minutes round robin style talking about these different topics. I did one. We usually have like 3 or 4 guests. We were only able to do like 3 or 4 of the developers roundtables because they are one of the most time consuming things to do. We have recording equipment, patrons credit. Yeah, maybe I can do something like that, like have like a once a month, just have like a list at the end for everyone on there kind of thing. Yeah. And that would still be a smaller goal as well for people. So again, like I'm not going to ask you to spend like $20 to get a thank you at the end. That would maybe be something far cheaper than that. And as I was saying, the developers roundtable cast was a very popular feature, and one that, again, it's really a lot of fun, and more importantly, if thanks to Twitch and YouTube, we could actually stream that. So you guys will be able to join in on the roundtable, ask questions, or talk to the developers as we're bringing up these interesting topics. Like I said, the only issue, of course, it is very hard to do this when you have 3 or 4 people on 3 or 4 different continents with 3 or 4 different time zones. And trust me, you haven't had the fun of managing things when you've had to coordinate someone in Australia with someone in Canada. At the same time, I think I had someone in the UK along with myself in New Jersey East Coast. That was a lot of fun in terms of trying to pick the right day to get that one going. And it looks like James is able to get on, so I will give him a call and we will see what happens. It's always the joy of going live, folks. Let's see. Hey, James.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, how are you doing? We are live right now.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm kind of. I just got into a huge argument with a friend of mine, and trying to set up this computer at the same time, and woo, yeah.
A lot of fun this week, right?
Yeah. And my weekend is literally even more hectic. So.
Oh, El Gordo in chat wishes you hello too.
Hey, what's up, El Gordo? He was here before, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right. James, you kind of I kind of went with the Patreon discussion first, as I figured that was going to be like the most boring or administrative part. But I'll fill you in quickly and see what you think about this. So the plans for the Patreon, I'm going to restart things over with $100 increment goals, smaller stuff that will basically add more content. So the $100 goal would be me getting like the PlayStation Now service and streaming more classic games, including a Let's Play of Ninja Gaiden Black. And then for every $100, there'll be more content that people who will pledge can have a chance at voting on what they want to see each month. And we'll basically just keep doing that for every $100, adding more content and letting people decide what they want to see for the channel.
Oh, cool. That sounds like a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. And I figure as we get higher up, I'll be able to invest possibly in better equipment here. Like this webcam I have is like, my goodness, it's got to be at least over 10 years old by now, maybe a little less than that.
Sounds ancient, man.
So if this works and we can hopefully start getting the Patreon money coming in, it will afford me the option of adding more stuff, fixing things around here. And El Gordo gave me a good idea about one of the things could be having like, once we get enough Patreons, I could put like a shout out tag at the end of all the YouTube videos for that month, thanking everyone who's donated at that tier. Just another way of saying thank you and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you have any suggestions for Patreon goals or content like that, let me know, James.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
All right. And like I said, and this is also for you, James, but for those of you just tuning in, the changes to the Patreon will be taking effect later tonight. And for those of you watching this recorded on YouTube right now, they should be up on the Patreon site. So be sure to take a look at that. And I'm debating if I want to have like a first month of like discount pricing, instead of charging $10 for a tier, maybe $7, and see, like, keep up for like a 30-day promotional period and see if we can get people that way as well.
Yeah, no. You think that'll be a little bit better?
I know people like discounts and promotions and stuff like that. I figure if we're going to do something, it'll be better to do it earlier than, do something like 4 or 5 months down the line. But then again, because people can lower their Patreon or change things around, I figure maybe we can wait and just see if the experiment works with the $100 tiers first. Oh, let me make you just a little bit. Yeah, Game Wisdom sale, Gordo. 1 second. Let me just. So make it a little bit louder. There we go. That should be loud enough for you, James. Yeah. So after our little chat, we'll talk a little bit off stream, and I can pick your brain about a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So with that said, in terms of news, I was bringing up, they just released the Long War 2 mod for XCOM 2, which sounds amazing, but I don't think there's enough time in the world for me to be playing that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a pretty long game.
Not counting when you add Long War in, which extends things out even further. Let's see. Oh, YouTube-wise, we did hit over 1,100 officially on the channel.
Oh, yeah. Awesome, man.
So thank you to everyone who is enjoying the videos and subscribing, and hopefully we'll be able to tie more rewards and more content to the YouTube channel and possibly the Twitch stream in the future. Now, I did get a little bit of bad news. It turns out my request for Resident Evil 7 press copy was declined, sadly, so it doesn't look like I'll be getting a press copy of RE7 anytime soon. But hope maybe things will change or something will happen. I can afford one, but we'll see what happens. I did get in touch with Nintendo regarding the Nintendo Switch. I asked them, would you be ever so kind to send me a press copy when it comes out? And they said, we'll put you on the list, which of course is code for most likely don't hold your breath. But who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky this one time. So, did you have a chance to watch all the Switch announcements last week?
I got a chance to see a little bit of it and see some of the new IPs that are coming out and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. Although I think it's gonna be funny. I think that it's gonna be really funny that Nintendo's gonna be competing against itself, kinda.
Yeah, especially with the idea of the, let me slow that down, with it being more of a portable console, essentially. Now, I did hear some very interesting news that someone was telling me about today. It's still unclear right now, but they're announcing about having a smartphone app that's going to be used for chatting and multiplayer and stuff like that. And they haven't announced if the system itself will have that functionality built in. And it's kind of got a lot of people concerned about if you're going to need a smartphone in order to have multiplayer services, essentially, with the Switch.
Yeah. Is I don't think the Nintendo getting into the phone market would be kind of weird. They haven't really done it. They haven't really done anything like that before. You know what I mean? I don't know. It'd be kind of weird to see Nintendo venture into that area.
I think that's kind of a bad idea because I think it's going to limit things to saying that you must have a smartphone in order to make use of our system. And that just seems like a very bad step considering that Nintendo is trying to make it as accessible as possible. And that's giving me an idea to talk about accessibility issues in video games for an upcoming critical thought. And for those of you watching this live recorded, I hope you had a chance to look at the extra long critical thought I did the other day, which was a 30-minute discussion about the MMO crash and how so many MMOs just crashed and burned over the last decade, and kind of what led to those issues.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to play any like MMOs back in the day, or do you play any of them now?
Oh yeah, I was a WoW addict for a number of years. I've since passed my treatment, and I think I'm several years free now. So yeah, I think you. No, I've played WoW. I've played a little bit of the Star Wars MMO, Knights of the Republic. I played like some of the basic stuff of Rift. I got like to the first couple of levels of Rift. Yeah, I played a lot of the MMOs back in the day.
I think the last one that I played that I sort of got into was City of Heroes. And this was long before they were talking about closing the servers. I think I stopped playing just before City of Villains came out, which was their big
the
PvP.
expansion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did play a little bit of DC Universe Online. That would actually, I think, be the last one that I had a chance to play.
Actually, that probably would be my last one too. I gotten heavy to DC Universe. I have a max level character. It got to the point with DC where just the time I had to play it was not the amount of time. Like they kept coming out with DLC after DLC, and all their DLCs for almost every DLC for DC Universe Online is specifically geared towards late game content. It's your next level gear, and if you miss 3 of them, then you're kind of you have weeks and weeks to catch up. Especially even if you're a paying customer, you have weeks and weeks to catch up to and I didn't have the time to keep up with it anymore.
Yeah, I'm looking at their site now. There was a big Steam sale on the DLC. It was like I want to say 2, maybe 2.5 years ago, and that's when I picked up a lot of them. But I'm looking at the list right now, and I know I don't own like anywhere near the same amount of these episodes that they have. Like they're up to, it looks like episode 27 right now for it. And that is crazy, but that's kind of like what their plan was, to go free to play and then do the monthly, or I think it was like every 2-3 months.
Yeah, do updates and a new expansion and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, it is smart for them to do that, but I think, as you said, it does kind of limit it to, you basically have to keep up with that at all times, or you're just going to fall behind, and then it's going to be a pain in the butt to get back to it.
WoW, at least I felt like it was an easier growth, because WoW, I think, I don't know, I just felt like DC Universe, just the way things are kind of structured, the dungeons themselves are very much story based, while in WoW they're the results of the quest line to the story. And they do that sometimes in DC too, but like, I don't know, I always felt like in WoW it was easier to just pick up and play and start fresh and new, and that in DC, anytime you pick up and play, you're very much at a, oh cool, some new stuff came out. Well, good luck. You have to grind to get to any of that. So
yeah, and that's what like drove me nuts about what they did with the gear rating systems for DC Universe Online, and how you were basically locked out from content unless your gear rating was high enough. But the problem with that is, if you don't get lucky with loot, you're just going to have to farm the same older things over and over.
Yeah.
It's what has me kind of concerned about what they're doing with Division, which I just got an email saying that I think they are going to be announcing the third DLC pack for it soon. I don't remember the email I got was NDA exclusive, so I don't want to give anything specific there. And I'm kind of concerned about, again, the issue with the gear rating is that it really makes the random loot generator, or the randomization, the only means of progression rather than just straight up leveling.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a the random. I understand why they do it. It's more because so that people continue to play. But I think it can be kind of a monotonous turn off sometimes.
And I'm just looking at. Let's see. I'm just looking at the content for DC Universe Online, and it says that you must have a gear rating of minimum of
Yep,
100 in
yep.
order to access the pack.
Which is sad because what I wish they would do is maybe start doing that, like, because a lot of their story stuff is really well done, and especially I'm a DC fanboy, so I really enjoy a lot of their story stuff because it's just kind of like an Elseworlds versions of DC, and it's all within its own universe. But like, I wish what they would do is just tune the dungeons to your levels so that if you want to experience the story, you can experience the story. You know what I mean? And but instead, it's all based on loot drops. It's all it's all level requirements and loot drops. So it's like if you haven't played the game in how long, well, you're going to be stuck doing the same dungeons that you were doing until you get the proper loot, and you're never going to see the newest things because they're 5 to 10 episodes way ahead of you, which is going to take you at least a year to get to. So it's pointless. It's like if you take a hiatus from DC, you're severely punished.
Yeah, and when I originally played, they also did a thing with limiting quality of life features unless you either subscribed or you spent enough money. So they locked your inventory. You had a bank limit, stuff like that.
They very much make you pay in other ways if you're not actually paying them.
Yeah.
Which is again, it's frustrating, and I'll admit I paid them for like I said, I actually did go pay to play for a while, and the reason I did it is because of two things. One, yes, I will admit, the quality of life was obviously significantly better when you pay. But but the second reason was I fully enjoyed the content. I enjoyed what I was getting. I was getting again a huge DC fanboy. They gave me everything I wanted in a DC storyline, and I honestly felt like the developers needed to be paid for the work. I was like, you know what, this is a really good game. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this. I will give you $15 a month for however long I paid. I don't remember, but And I think that free to play can work because of people like that. You know what I mean? There are people that are gonna love your game enough to be like, you know what? I think here I'll throw you a couple of bucks here and there.
Yeah. And I'm also, while you were talking, I pulled up the page for Marvel Heroes, which is the Marvel MMO free to play experience that's also out.
Yeah.
I played it for like a few minutes. Like, I have a few friends of mine who just love that game.
Oh, okay.
And it just didn't work for me. There was something about that it wasn't clicking, I think. Let's see. Did you?
Yeah, I've seen stuff on it, and what I saw was not pretty. Was just not pretty. And keep in mind, I was watching beta, and it might have gotten way better than that. But what I saw in the beta was enough to turn me off. And 10%, I'm also a DC fanboy, so I wasn't as excited. But no, honestly, as a gamer, I looked at that and was like, I don't want to touch that. And I think when it came out, it was around the time. I think it came out during like the beginning of the boom of the Marvel movies, and that to me is always a kind of a turnoff because it looks like whenever they do things like that, my first thought is, oh, you're trying to cash grab. That's turned. I feel icky. So I'm not. You know what I mean. And cash grabs to me are just kind of. I'm not touching that. I don't want to touch that if it's a cash grab because not all cash grabs are bad. Just most of them.
I know DC also had that failed MOBA, which was supposed to be like the whole multiverse thing going on.
Yeah.
It looked interesting, but the second I heard it was a MOBA, I was like, nope, I'm not going to jump back into that again.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything else like MMO-wise? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really got me excited. I know one thing I liked about DC Universe that they sort of did with Sea of Heroes, so they have like all like the different achievements. I think they were called feats or something in DC Universe, because that really lends into like the God completed all kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything else? I think in terms, like, I'm still interested in DC Universe, but it runs into that same problem that I feel like Hearthstone has. That once you stop playing, it just becomes a lot harder to try to get back into it, because you're trying to enter it when you have all this stuff just like backed up that you have to get
Back to,
to.
yeah. And honestly, I was actually a big PvP. I loved playing PvP on DC Universe, and their PvP was very I would say it was mediocre. You could tell they were not focused on the PvP. They were focused on they were very much focused on other stuff. Like they were focused on the PvE aspects of it, and and I just I enjoyed the PvP, and they even had a PvP system on that was really cool. Actually, their PvP system where you got to play a hero, just rent a heroes basically, where they would have a bunch of free heroes, and you would play as these created characters. Like you would play as Superman and have a couple of Superman's moves, and you'd be play different PvP modes against like other characters that people picked. They were set characters from the DC universe that you could pick, and I thought it was very unique. It was basically like Heroes of the Storm before Heroes of the Storm was out. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, I can play with Blizzard characters, or but it was cool. I really enjoyed what they did there.
And El Gordo in chat mentioned maybe in a few years I can do a critical thought about the crash and burn of the MOBA genre, since everyone's now jumping into that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, because right now the MOBA genre is kind of at a stagnant place. I want to say the hero shooter is actually kind of overtaking the MOBA genre, and it's slowly over. Like when people start asking, will Overwatch overtake League of Legends? Then I think you got to keep your eye out. I mean, the hero shooter definitely is on the rise. So,
yeah.
And
Yakuza 0 is coming out next week, and the NDA has at least partially lifted. So when we're done with this now, I'm going to stream some more of Yakuza 0 here. And I was also hearing something about this game called Nioh that's done by Team Ninja.
Yeah, Nioh. When I saw Nioh, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with Nioh, because Nioh really reminded me of the golden era of PlayStation 2. Of PlayStation 2 games, where single character, PlayStation 2 / PlayStation 3 games, where you saw the single character going through a bunch of stuff. That led to an almost really climaxed with The Witcher, where you have the single player hero. He has a name, he has a story, and then you go through the world and experience his name and story. Which PS2 I think really kicked that off. And did it to the nth degree. It gave us a lot of great games like the Tenchu. I think it was the Tenchu series. The Metal Gear Solid stuff. Now, obviously, that was stealth based, but there was a lot of those great games that came out during the Deus Ex games. Now, I know Deus Ex had started earlier than that, but some of you have that main character, and you're playing that main character, and you're having them fight in real time combat versus a bunch of stuff, which I really like that that's something that they are. I feel like Nioh is kind of a throwback to that. Splashed in with some awesome Japanese monster play. So
and El Goro in his chat is telling me about it. Like, it sounds like a Samurai Dark Souls.
Yes,
that definitely has me going. And what's interesting, and for those of you who don't know this, they're actually doing a time-limited demo. One more final demo of it. I think it goes live tomorrow until the 22nd or 23rd. So I will probably be streaming or making a few videos on that for their big finale. They have done 2 other demos from what I heard, but I really did not play that. Start filling the form for a press copy. Oh, it is PS4 exclusive. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll see if I can find a pressing. Let's see. It's Namco Koei? No. I'm confusing the I'm confusing the developers. Bandai Namco, Tecmo Koei, or I think I'm confusing these two. Let me see here. What is it? Tecmo is Bandai owned by? I know like Tecmo got Namco Bandai. Tecmo Koei. Everyone's combining now, just like Square Enix, and it's throwing me off. Yeah, so Tecmo Koei is the one who is doing it. And of course, Koei is famously known as the Dynasty Warriors developers. I like the Dynasty Warriors series. I think that was literally the first game that I played on PlayStation 2 when I was trying out like at the store
Yeah, and you
way
said
back in the day.
you weren't a fan of that?
No, I was.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. No, I'm a huge fan of Dynasty Warriors. I loved that game.
Yeah.
Those games, period. Actually, and the Samurai Warriors series was good too. So, I mean, I think after a while it got monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but every now and then it's a fun thing to go back to. If you're having a really bad day and you just want to, destroy legions and legions of AI and look really awesome, in a Romance of the Three Kingdoms era warrior, yeah, you just pick it up and do that, do exactly that. So, yeah.
And one thing that let's see. Oh, one thing I forgot to ask you about, James, regarding like Nintendo Switch. Did you see the new Mario game that they were promoting?
I only saw clips of. I only saw like pictures of it. I didn't get a chance to see the new. I actually was looking at the kind of what was like Springman or something.
Arms, I think.
Arms, that's what it's called. Yeah, Arms was really interesting. And it's funny. I was watching some videos on the Switch, and they really are hitting. I mean, Nintendo has dominated from the American view. Nintendo has almost always dominated the console the handheld console market. But I recently learned that they were not and are not currently dominating the handheld market in Japan. Actually, the Vita is the dominant handheld system in Japan. Like, people love it. And the reason is because in Japan, I got this from Gaijin Goomba, just a little shout out to that guy. And one of the reasons why he said is because in Japan, it's all about presentation. So the bigger and better graphics, the more splashy you can make something, the more you'll pull people. And Vita has the better graphics. It has better graphics because it has a better capability than the
3DS.
Yes. The 3DS, and so it's been selling like hotcakes. Now, obviously, I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to say that the Vita was kind of a flop over in the America, but it apparently is doing. It is the dominant system in Japan, and I think Nintendo wants their crown back as the dominant handheld system. So they made a full-on system that is both handheld and a home console. Suck it, Sony. So it's gonna be interesting to see the attack of the battle on that on the Japanese side. So
yeah, and what was interesting about this, when I was doing my research for my arcade presentation, I did look up like those stats, and yet mobile gaming is huge in Japan, and still the arcade industry was still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons was the fact that the arcades are essentially owned by the major publishers. So you have a Sega, Club Sega, Namco Bandai own one. Yeah. And I forget the other two. It's on my presentation.
Does Konami have one?
I want to say yes.
I think Konami has one as well, like an arcade. But like the very and that's huge because you know exactly where to go to play what game you want. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, let's all go play Sega games. We can go do that. You know what I mean? In America, we have to either dust off or go buy a Sega Genesis if I want to play, or download. Hashtag I do not support piracy. So neither, but I do not support piracy, nor does Game Wisdom.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And also, I'm also talking to another library, hopefully this weekend, about doing more presentations this year too. Yeah. So I'm going to hopefully be able to update people about that. I also got like my first official invoice regarding doing 2 presentations, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be able to do more with that later in 2017. Oh, and El Gordo was something about there's of course the Metal Gear Pachinko game that's coming out soon.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Let's see, what else were we saying about the mobile? I'm trying to remember what was our original point there.
Jesus, don't remember. Oh, tangents. Tangents.
Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, we were talking about Nintendo Switch.
Hmm.
Here's what I wanted to ask you about. One of the things I felt was kind of a downside from the Nintendo presentation was the price at $300. I was kind of expecting it to be $250. What did you think about what they set the price as?
People will pay it.
Yeah,
People will pay. I don't think. Now the weird thing is, when are they? Did they say a release date? I can't remember.
March 2nd or 3rd.
Okay, so you're looking around for America anyway. You're looking at tax rebate season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they are kind of marking on that. So you have the tax rebate season, and then you have Christmas gift season. So I think they're going for a tax rebate season. So
Mm-hmm.
when I saw the 300 price tag, I wasn't really surprised. You're kind of getting two consoles in one. You really are. You're getting obviously an upgraded Wii U, and you're getting a upgraded DS, so 3DS. So I wasn't too surprised about the price tag. And give it like a year. I think they'll probably drop it around Christmas time. They'll probably
Mm-hmm.
drop it and do like 250, 275. They'll drop it again at Christmas time for everybody to buy it. So.
Mm-hmm. The Joy Cons themselves, I think that's another interesting thing about the system. Like they're actually showing it the demonstrations for it. It looks really small. Like again, I was like talking about on the earlier critical thought. Like it looks like
Mhm.
my hands will just swallow those things up. I don't know if I'll be able to hold them comfortably.
Uh, well, and I think very much so. And now keep in mind, they design a lot of games with families and kids in mind, as opposed to the general supposed gaming demographic of large white males.
Mm-hmm.
But of large men, of large dudes. I mean, generally when you look at a Nintendo game, it's not really geared towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think who knows? They might have alternate controllers, and I'm sure Mad Cats will. Is it Mad Cats? I think they'll develop
Yeah.
a bigger controller or something like that. So
Mm-hmm. Let's see anything else regarding the Switch. Oh, El Gore was mentioning, of course, they're bringing Binding of Isaac to the Switch, so the kids are going to be able to enjoy Binding of Isaac for the first time.
well, I think that is the biggest push and pull of the Switch is the fact that Nintendo is going. You know what? We need to start getting some of these main developers on our systems.
Mm-hmm.
Our audience wants them. And that was something that I've heard a lot of Japanese fans and audience are asking about. When are we going to get the American games?
Hmm.
I mean, they want American game like games that are selling really well over here, like Skyrim comes over here. The Japanese love Skyrim. But you know what I mean? Like, so seeing it, and I think, but of course they can't go to Nintendo for Skyrim. They have to go to Sony or, well,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox, but I don't know how well Xbox sells over in Japan. But so they usually have to go to Sony, which I don't think is that much of a problem. But I think the very fact that Nintendo is going, okay, we're going to start catering to third-party developers and indie games. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that takes effect over there. So
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, James. Like again, like it's kind of like one of those weird things. Like for the longest time, Japan was known as the market that had all the games that we couldn't play over here. But
yeah,
now, thanks to the indie market and what we see on the PC and such, we now have a pretty sizable amount of games that probably aren't coming out in Japan. So I'm
yeah,
curious to see
definitely.
like what they think about a lot of our options. Like I wonder what they think of games like Don't Starve, or I would love to like get more
Huh.
reactions of Renowned Explorers, but I think that
Yeah,
game, I don't know how well it did over here. Like it's
yeah.
still okay.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Hey, any Japanese people living in Japan that are hearing this podcast, hey, we'd love to have you on if you want to
Hmm.
come and talk about what gaming's like over in Japan.
Yeah. And of course, I did announce again on Twitter that if you would like to come on for either a Perceptive podcast or one of our live shows, we are currently looking for new guests. So be sure to get in touch with me. You can email me at josh@game-wisdom.com or send me a message. Love to have you on. Let me see if there's anything else to really cover for right now. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, I agree with you, Gord, about lack of third party has always been one of Nintendo's weaknesses, and we talked about
Yes.
that I think a few times already. So with the Switch, it'll be interesting to see like just how well the market's going to respond in terms of getting third parties. They've of course talked about Skyrim being on Nintendo Switch. I think they announced a few EA sports titles. Farming Simulator will be on the Switch.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
that's gonna be very interesting.
they did announce a few new Square Enix games that and Atlas titles that look really interesting. There's
Hmm.
some kind of new RPG, Octo something Traveler. It's like some very weird name that
Yeah.
looks good. A new Shin Megami Tensei is coming to the
Yeah,
Switch.
I know a lot of people are excited about that too.
And
So, do
when is Persona 5 coming out too? Because I'm excited about that. I would love to do a Let's Play of that if I can get my hands on it.
yeah, I really
Let's.
want to see what some of these developers will do with the Switch, and I
Mhm.
think that I honestly think that they're gonna uh, really go wild with this new hardware. So
Yeah. We'll see. Again, we were hopefully going to see a lot of that with the Wii and the Wii U, and they kind of like pushed away the third party support for the most part.
yeah,
All right. Is there any news that you want to bring up here, James, or anything that you found interesting?
I can't think of anything.
All right. I figure we could probably end things here. It is getting a little bit late. I do have to start streaming in a few minutes. I
Yeah,
know you're probably tired from getting your new computer and everything hooked up.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so I think we'll wrap things up here. Like I said, for those of you watching this recorded, the updates to Patreon should be up and center on the site now. For those of you watching this recorded, it should be going up later this evening. And for those of you watching this live right now, tonight's stream will of course be of Yakuza 0. I'm going to be going through some of the side quests and stuff along those lines. So be sure to come back for that, probably in 30 minutes or so, give or take. But again, thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like and subscribe. And like I said, if you have any suggestions for Patreon goals or rewards, please let me know. But otherwise, it's been another great week here on Game Wisdom. James, thanks a lot once again for coming on, and
Yep,
we'll be talking again to everyone, I guess, next week.
yep, sounds good.
All right. So with that said, have a great night, folks. For those of you watching this recorded, and I'll be back in a few minutes with some Yakuza 0. But until then, take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.